And for more insight on the Geneva talks and the humanitarian crisis in Syria, I sat down with Kristalina Georgieva, the EU Commissioner for International Cooperation, Humanitarian Aid and Crisis Response. And I began by asking her thoughts on the recent ceasefire.
This is the first time in this war when a ceasefire actually holds. And we are keen to see more of those taking place in Syria. What it shows is that it can be done. And it is a victory for those who escaped the horror of the war. But the question is how to do it everywhere. And this would only happen with concerted pressure on the two sides of the fighting sides to look for ways in which they can provide access for humanitarian organizations that can relieve the suffering of the Syrian people. This is the most heartbreaking for us because we have the medicine, we have the vaccines, we have the food. We can save more lives if there was more access in the most terrible areas, the besieged areas. 250,000 of Syrians are in places where no help gets in, they cannot get out. And Homs shows that with determination, there can be hope for these people.
So are you optimistic about the Geneva II talks? Because it's been taking place, there's been a lot of headbutting at these meetings. Are you optimistic that anything can get accomplished when these two sides meet? And what needs to happen?
What needs to happen is to lock them in, no food, no water, until they reach an agreement and there is peace. There has to be an end to this madness, and it would only happen through negotiations. And I think the more the world is united and demonstrates this unity, the more likely it is that the talks would bring a positive result. Look, we are realistic. A lot of blood has been shed in Syria, and it is so difficult to overcome the history of these 3 years. But for the international community, there is no excuse for us not to be able to demonstrate unity and say, look, you know, every war on this planet in the end ends up with a political solution. The 100 Years' War in Europe ended. So this war is going to end. We know that. What we do not know is how many more people are going to die before this happens. And we have to be determined to say enough. Enough. You have to find a way to bring your country to a position when there is hope for its people. I mean, one thing that hurts me to think of is that most of the victims of this war are children. Their lives are crushed, but with this, the future of Syria is crushed, and the longer this goes on, the harder it would be to rebuild the country.
All right, Commissioner Kristalina Georgieva, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much again for visiting us here on CCTV America.
Thank you.